Alright, guys. It is now day probably like 10 of whatever this is. I wouldn't be able to tell you for a fact. But it's 21st, Wednesday, 4:16. Heading out from the shop. I didn't film this morning because ended up getting up a little bit late. Still made it early to the shop, but not as early as I normally do, so I didn't have time to set up the camera and whatnot. I knocked out a Challenger, all the sides and the rear, with a full windshield ceramic. The whole thing was ceramic, so about 700 bucks, just under, I think. Let's see, like something like 670, 680. Um, so started at 8 a.m. Really ended up finishing. I finished at 2, but to be fair, I also took like a 1 hour little like a video call meeting with with like this new CRM that I'm thinking about trying. So really only took me about 5 hours. So that's not bad. You know, just under 700 in 5 hours. I can definitely live with that. And I definitely wasn't, you know, being a real speed demon or anything. Like, I was just chilling. So definitely could be faster. Man, I always have like an idea throughout the day of what I want to talk about when I get on these. That way they're valuable or somewhat entertaining. But then I start recording and it's just like, let's just run through my day. I forgot what I was gonna talk about. So anyway, yeah, that was my morning and afternoon. Now I'm headed home, basically right as traffic is hitting. So it'll probably be like closer to a 30-minute drive. I didn't get to film last night's pump, which so the clip literally ends in, "All right, guys, I'll see you guys after," or with we'll see how the pump looks. And then it was the end because I had to pick up some groceries. Like at a pickup time, run out of time, had to rush through my workout. Still got a really good workout in. It's almost like rushing it and like supersetting it with like less rest. Like kind of was just, it felt good. I probably wouldn't, do that every single workout. Probably like a little bit more volume and a little bit more rest so that I can kind of push a little bit harder. But it felt good. Feel sore today. I went to pick up those groceries. Now I went to do a pickup at Walmart like 8 to 9, or sorry, it was 9 to 10. We get there. There's every single spot is taken, and there's like one or two people come like unloading like the stuff. So I ended up just canceling it because I didn't know how long I was gonna wait there. I had to get. I still had to eat, get some calories in, and then go to bed, and to wake up for work today. So canceled it and went in and literally did my little grocery shopping myself, which I typically do, but we've been trying the pickup just to kind of see. It's hasn't been worth it. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna be going in from now on. But good news, go in. I've been like not wanting to try to pick up just like some cheaper cuts of steak that are like lean, because like I see Sam Sulek, or I think it's Sulek, talk about it all the time. I see him talk about it all the time where he sous vide his meat, so it's like more tender, much more soft. But then he sears it, so it's still got that crust with all the flavor, and then the inside is nice and soft. So ooh, yeah, not going for that one. That would have been a straight up red light. Um, anyway, so yeah, and if you guys are familiar with him, then I'm sure you guys are getting the idea of where I got the idea of this. So anyway, by this I mean filming and whatnot. So yeah, I ended up picking up. I didn't know what to eat, and and I didn't have anything at home, nothing quick. And steaks are always super quick, like pat dry, salt, pepper. Like, obviously you should probably do it better than this, but it's not a bad steak if you just salt, pepper, sear, eat it. So I was like, let me just do a quick search on Grok. What's the most affordable, leanest cut of meat that I can cook as a regular steak? Gave me some options, kind of ran me through how to cook. And so I think like the most affordable that they had when I was in there, because when you go at 10 o'clock, they're not really stocked up. They're about to close at 11. So limited stock. What they had was just beef round steak, like a pound and a half total. So like two, like 10-ounce ish steaks. Tried that, cooked those up, and they were way better than I thought it was going to be. Like, yeah, it's definitely not going to be like the same as like a New York strip or a ribeye, or like in terms of tenderness, nowhere near like a fillet. But I could do that every day of the week. Now, I probably won't, but I'm just excited about that. So you like steak, I 100% recommend that. I was like, I mean, let's just look what that one was. I think it was something like 60 grams of protein. Let's see. Let's see what was going on. So for a 10 ounce, and when I say 10 ounce, I mean raw, which, I mean, it was pretty big. Not the biggest, but it's big. It was 361 calories, 67 grams of protein, 10 grams of fat, 0 carbs. So, yeah, I was more than happy with how it tasted, and more than happy with how it tastes, and more than happy with the macros of it. So, and the price. 2 big steaks or something like that for like $13. So I was happy with that. Anyway, got a good workout. Found some good steak that I can eat and afford. And went to bed a little later. Got here. Had a good day at work. And then got somebody else booked. Got another job booked for like $370. $370, I think. So, yeah. Overall, pretty good. I was listening to a lot of... I'm just trying to get back into some sort of mindset of being able to push myself more, because like in a previous one of these, I was just talking about just so much. At the end of the day, it's just like laziness. I've just been very lazy. And it's odd because like at times I was much different where like I didn't need much of a drive. I had a drive, I had motivation, but there was times where like, oh, that motivation like faded, and I would just keep going because of whatever way that I was thinking, or whatever way that I would just kind of keep going. And right now it's been really hard. So I've been watching a lot of podcasts, and I did get kind of like pushed a little bit back into it, because like, I mean, I know how to think, I know all this stuff, but I guess sometimes I guess motivation's not the right word, but I guess your push, I don't know, your drive comes from different things. And there's just like a handful. Like for me, like when things get hard and like I'm like this close to just giving up, I'll usually try and think of like, this is where everybody else stops. This is where everybody else gives up. And that's why, if like, it's almost like confirming that if you keep going, then you're going to be different. And there, obviously there's like so many different levels. It's like somebody might give up here, give up here, give up here, give up here. But at every single point, there is a group of people that give up. And every single time you get past that, you become the exception even more and more. You get in a smaller group of people. So that was always just like a really big driver for me whenever I was just like really struggling with something, would be, this is where everybody else gives up, and that's why you're different. Because if you give up just like everybody else, if you switch to whatever, if you change your mind and start doing this instead, then you're just like everybody else. And by definition, you won't be the exception. So that was always a big one for me. I remember like whenever things got hard in terms of like a physically demanding way, and not even like a mental, well, I guess both, but just like where it literally felt hard to like just continue to do, not just like, I don't know, just a different type of hard. I remember, I just always think like, for example, my parents are immigrants, and coming here, they have zero sense of what's the word, entitlement. Like, I was not taught that at all. And when you're younger, like, you always have a little bit, especially being brought up, obviously not like them, but them being brought up the way they were brought up, they have zero entitlement. They like, right now they're citizens. Before they were citizens, they did not feel like they were entitled to be, like, the fact that they got here, however they got here, and whatnot, was like, was an opportunity. It was a risk, but it was an opportunity, and they took that opportunity. No, I'm a victim. No, it was always like échale ganas, which is just like, literally means like give effort. But what they mean is just like, yeah, just try your hardest. Like whatever it is that you do, do it well. And at the end of the day, like life does kind of have like an interesting way of rewarding consistent hard work. I mean, circumstances like and whatever else, yeah, like can be different, But for the most part, generally speaking, fundamentally, if you consistently work hard towards a goal, you will generally achieve it or get closer to it. Um, Now, of course, like, I'm not going to be 23 and go, you know what, I want to be, which, I mean, it's right on the edge. I'm sure like some sort of specimen could, but I'm not going to go, I'm going to learn MMA and become the lightweight champion of the UFC. Now, no matter how hard I work, there is probably a limit to that. Now, could I be like champion of like an amateur league, or a smaller promotion, a smaller professional promotion? Maybe. But at this age, if you guys are a fan of MMA or UFC, you guys would know at this age now it's like pretty late. Earlier on in MMA, you could get into it pretty late and do well. But the more it goes on, the bigger the sport grows, the younger people or kids are getting into the sport, and so they learn the wrestling, the grappling, the whatever. So yeah, I'm not gonna probably start learning at 23 and be able to compete at a high level. That's not what I mean. What I mean is, if you set a goal and you just kind of continue to work towards it and you work hard, life is typically going to reward you, not because there's some like crazy formula, or like, if you believe in like a higher power, or like whatever, the universe. It's just how it works. Um, so there's that. But yeah, my parents are immigrants, and came here without knowing the language, took the risk, and somehow were able to not only make a life for themselves, but make a life for me and my siblings. And what I always think about, I have two brothers that I grew up with. So it was three of us, 2 years apart. And we were really shitty kids. Light stuff on fire, break stuff left and right, like jumping off of roofs, climbing trees, like all sorts of crazy stuff, fighting all the time. And I specifically think of my mom, because my parents were separated, but my dad is still extremely impressive in what he did at his age. But what comes to mind is my mom, because again, she's an immigrant, didn't know the language, came here, took the risk, and she's got to support 3 kids, shitty kids, on her own. Like, we were terrible, we were so misbehaved, and like nobody could tell us anything. Like, we were known, like if we went to like a party as a family, whatever little occasion, like people still come up to me whenever I go to like parties or whatever. They're much older now. I have no idea who they are. They're like, hey, where are your brothers? And I'm like, what? I don't know who this guy is, but it's a family gathering, so I'm sure he knows me somehow. I was like, oh, I don't know where they are, whatever. Like, yeah, you and your brothers are crazy. Like, we're still known as those kids that would go around and fuck everything up. We'd go to a birthday party. If there's a trampoline, it's broken. Like, we're jumping off of who knows what, doing some crazy stuff, and trampoline's broken. Anyway, bad kids. And my mom was able to support us through, all that stuff. Like, she was going through, separating with my dad. She cleans houses, and she did all that by herself, And so, in other words, like, it's not a business in the sense that, people look at corporations, but like, she started and grew a small business as an immigrant, and provided for me and my brothers that were the worst to take care of through all of our athletics, and just provided, and like to an insane amount. Like, we would, she'd come home from work and the house would be a mess. And it's like she literally just had the hardest, just a hard day at work, which I'm sure as you guys adult know that just sucks. You come home and she had 3 kids, absolute mess, dishes to do, all this stuff. We're just bad kids, and she would take care of all that stuff. And so it's like, you're telling me, like, I have all. And now you can always compare yourself this way, in a way that benefits you, like this, instead of comparing yourself like, oh, I could have had it better. Like, if you have like a legitimate thing that you can see, like something that you witnessed that didn't have it as good as you, and you can look back at that as a way to just like push yourself harder, and like know that you're just being lazy, know that, I guess for lack of better words, just being a pussy. Like, that was a huge driver for me. Just like not knowing the language, having to deal with 3 kids while going through a divorce, and just going to work and then dealing with those shitty kids. And it's just like I don't know, like that. My life is way easier than that. So yeah, it's always just like, if she could do it, there's no reason I can't. And so it's just like stuff like that just was able to help me. And again, like my dad too, I more so think of him because of what he did at the age that he did it. He immigrated here when he was 17. He came by himself, did whatever he had to do to get here, however they crossed the border and stuff like that, at 17 years old. At 17 years old, I was messing around in high school, had no real, like zero real idea of how real life would be, like as an adult. And he made the decision to, save up so he would have the means to be able to kind of come here and take that risk and then send money back to his family in Mexico and stuff like that. At 17 years old, again, not knowing the language, never having come here before. I remember, like, if I was 17 and like I was getting into fixing my car and I had to go to the auto parts store and ask for like a part or whatever, I would be like nervous and like extremely anxious to go in and ask for that part and look like an idiot. But my dad will come here and like know a couple words, and he started his own business, his construction business. Yeah, I know, it's like pretty typical, but yeah, and he's over here like talking to people with broken English, not ashamed, not embarrassed, not any of that, just working hard. um, Zero excuses, and at that age. And then, by the time he was 19, 20, 21, whatever, now he's having kids, has a business, owns multiple cars like in cash, has a house, is married with kids at like 21, 20. I don't know the exact age, but I'm 23. So by my age, he had a business, had a house, had multiple cars, was married, and had, I think by that time he had me, I'm not sure, but he had kids. So it's like, and he was better off than me, like making more money then than I probably am right now. And if you adjust for inflation, he was probably making way more than I am now. So it's just like all this sort of stuff. And you could say like, oh, he might have had the opportunity, like this area was just coming up and blah blah blah. But it's like, you are an idiot, in my opinion, if you think that they had more opportunity back then because of inflation. There's this quote Alex Hormozy always said. I think this is just where I saw it. He always says, it has never been easier to succeed in the history of time, but it has also never been easier to be distracted. So all these people that have all sorts of excuses, it's because they want to think like that. They don't want to see the opportunity. And so that you could just tell those people, it's like, yeah, you're right. It's way harder now. You're never going to be able to do it. You can be content with where you are today, right now. You win. Sorry. Like, yeah, you're right. It just sucks. Like, really? That's how you want to kind of think about it? It's like, no. It's just coping. It's ridiculous. We have all the opportunity at our fingertips, able to do, who knows how many things right here that our parents were never able to do. I learned how to window tint from this. So the thing that generates my business, 6 figures, I learned from my phone. And I'm not special in any sort of way other than perspective. I think differently than people, but that, like, I'm not smarter. It's just perspective. And obviously, like, being, what's it called? I guess risk averse would be away from risk. So risk tolerant, which if you're, young and you're not risk tolerant, I don't know what the fuck you're doing. What are you doing? You got so much time. Why are you worried about it? Anyway, so it just doesn't serve you in any way to think that way, other than to make you feel better, which making you feel better, fast forwarded, is just you feeling like shit again. Because if you cope, oh, they had better this, whatever else, and it makes you feel better in that moment, and for the next year or two, you're like, yep, it's just hard right now, like, it is what it is, blah, 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 like this and this, excuse here, excuse there, and you fast forward 10 years and you look back, I would hope you're more honest with yourself at that point, but you're going to feel like shit. And that's 10 years of your life, or 5 or 1, whatever it was. So like, but you'll probably feel worse at that point. What is up with people merging, like, just borderline right next to me? Anyway, so I mean, just, yeah, play it out. Even it making you feel better now it's just gonna bite you in the ass later. It's just delaying pain. And usually when you delay it, it builds. So if you just, like, know that, then it's easier to not do it. Just like, if you know you have to pay a bill, but your friends invite you to go out drinking, I'll worry about the money later. I'm just going to have a good time right now. And you're delaying the pain. And then you can't pay the bill, put it on a credit card, whatever. You go, oh, it's fine. Like, I have this much time to pay it off and blah, blah, blah. And then before you know it's, gaining interest. So not like it's just bigger. The pain's just like you're delaying pain, and it usually gets worse. Anyway, so that's the rant there. More of a rant to myself, obviously, because one, I don't even have any viewers, and two, because I'm the one that really needs these pep talks. Right now I'm just struggling, so that's what's been helping me get back into it. Another big one that I like is just like thinking like whoever it is that you compare yourself to, or maybe not even compare yourself to, but like internally compete with, just think like, dude, like when you give up, or a year down the road, whenever they're at this point and you stayed here because you took it easy and you wanted to whatever, it's like, how are you gonna feel? And there's like, again, perspective to all this stuff, but it's like a year down the road, you jump on your phone, hop on some Instagram, and that person that you internally compete with or whatever bought a house or bought their dream car and this and this, and then you're still in the same spot you were a year ago, or maybe even worse. I think that's some good competition there. It's like, dude, fuck that. I'm not gonna lose. I am like, there's no chance I'm gonna lose. I don't give a shit if he doesn't even know that he's competing right now. I'm gonna whoop his ass or her, like whatever. So anyway, plan right now. Get inside, cook up. Probably, I love breakfast food at any time of the day, and it's the easiest for me to make. And since I'm fasted right now and it's about 5 p.m., I probably get to treat myself with a big old breakfast, knock out probably most of my fats, and then just finish off later with that big old steak and a shit ton of potatoes. So that's probably what I'll do. And then the plan is legs. It's legs today. You guys probably won't see the pump there. So, yeah, I think we'll just end it there. I think a 28-minute rant will suffice for this day. And, yeah. Cool. See you guys on the next one.